Oh, yeah, it's your boy Livewire, and I'm back in the motherfucking building, baby. So what's going on, people? It's your boy Live. I've been busy, like always, working and shit. But I found a few minutes just to, throw out my little thoughts on what's going on in gaming at the moment. And the first thing I want to talk about is basically how Xbox has continued to win the last 3 months. Now, some people may say that, it's just a flash in the pan. It's only trending at this moment. But I don't feel it's a coincidence that Xbox is winning hardware refresh. Like, we basically, a lot of Xbox fans have been saying for the last couple of months, shit, the whole of all of last year, that Microsoft needed to do a hardware refresh in order to get the bad taste of the original Xbox One out of the mouths of gamers. But they did not do that. And so this, Gears of War and Forza and all this momentum having a shift and the voice of gaming, gravitating towards Microsoft is not a surprise, because once you change the look of the console, the aesthetics of the console, that changes the outlook of what that console is. It just does. It's an identity shift. Sometimes you just got to go back to the drawing board and come back. Like let's like when The Rock, Dwayne Johnson was his original character, I forget what his original character was, but he had been wrestling for a couple of years, decided to go back and do a refresh of that, and became, the people's champion, and everybody gravitated. But sometimes you got to go back. You got to go back to the drawing boards. Freaking Mac was out for a while, but the shit was fucked up, and nobody was really interested in it. And what happened? They went back to the drawing board, got a new identity, came back out, bam, huge success. And that's the trend that you're seeing right now with Microsoft. You're just seeing that, people are gravitating to it because, you're seeing the Microsoft, Xbox for what it really is versus the hate that it was once getting. And that's really just the big difference between it. There is no other real difference, So a lot of questions are, will this trend continue? And some people say no, because PlayStation gamers are waiting for the Pro. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But my question to that is, if casuals are what, dominates the market, right? Yeah, the fanboys, you like a console for whatever it is you like it for, right? But we always say that those aren't the people that really control the market. It's the casuals. Fanboys don't control the market. So with that being said, how is it possible that PlayStation Pro comes out and then casuals just flock to it? Like, let's look at all the things that casuals would like. The Xbox One S is a better looking console. Fact. It's not even debatable. We just got years of hearing why the Xbox One Fat was ugly shit brick, and it looked like a VCR, and it looked like a cable box, and it looked like this, it looked like that. It didn't look like a nice console. We heard that for years, right? So now a Pro's coming out, and it looks like, it looks shitty, and all of a sudden casuals are going to gravitate to it. I think not. Number two, the Xbox One S has a ultra Blu-ray player, right? As much as people want to downplay, well, it's not the top of the line Blu-ray player, that doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't. For the simple fact that most of the people think about this. If you are a 4K enthusiast, if you're this huge, I need 4K, I need the top of the line, system, audio system, guess what? You're gonna get the top of the line, blue ultra Blu-ray player. Period. You're not gonna sit there and be like, well, I'm gonna get an $2,000-3,000 television. I'm gonna get a $1,000 to $2,000 audio system, and I'm gonna get a $300 ultra Blu-ray player. You're not gonna fucking do that. That shit is dumb as hell. You might still get a Xbox One S, but that won't be your choice as far as doing ultra Blu-ray player, because you're an enthusiast on that, right? But somebody who's a casual will get the most affordable 4K player, they'll get the most affordable sound system, and then they'll get the most affordable ultra Blu-ray player. And that's where you're going to see a boom for the Xbox One S. So a lot of people, they try to, look at one side as far as like, okay, Xbox is going to do this, but it's not going to do that, because they just want to put their blinders on, and they kind of live in their box. They tell other people not to live in a box, but then they live in the box and try to convey their thoughts and opinions based on that. And it just doesn't make any sense, So with this whole Xbox One S versus the PlayStation Pro will get a boost, because a lot of the PlayStation gamers will more than likely buy the PlayStation Pro. Not all, because you're talking about a good number of PlayStation gamers are casuals. All right. So most of them aren't going to go out and fork out $400, especially with all the games that are coming out. Granted, PlayStation does not have any exclusives worth speaking of at this moment, but they do have exclusives that some PlayStation gamers want. So therefore, you're going to see a small spike in sales during November. Is it going to be strong enough to beat out the Xbox One S? I doubt it, because like I said before, casuals are what really push the market, and Xbox One S is a cheaper console. Xbox One S has an ultra Blu-ray player, so, and Xbox One S also has the better games, the better new games at the time, so therefore, even though the PlayStation Pro it has games that look better on the PlayStation Pro, and we all know this, that is not up for debate. The thing is, do casuals care enough to spend the extra $100 for the PlayStation Pro for gaming, even though the Xbox One S has the ultra Blu-ray player that they're more likely to use versus the gaming experience that the PlayStation Pro has? Because let's be clear, let's not be fooled. People that are casual gamers don't really game like that. Let's be honest. You have casual gamers on different tiers, though. All right, so you have casual gamers that, they might only play COD and, a sports game, or they might only play some, I don't know, some damn exclusive in a sports game. But casual gamers do not go out and buy game after game after game after game after game after game. They don't do it. It's proof in the pudding. They do not do that. They're casual gamers. All right. So this belief that PlayStation Pro comes out and then casuals are going to be like, oh, I need a PlayStation Pro. Like, it's not going to happen, man. More than likely, people that are casuals that already have a PlayStation will more likely go and get an Xbox One S, because it's offering something that PlayStation does not. It offers them an ultra Blu-ray player. It offers them 4K streaming, and it also offers them games that they haven't had access to because they were only PlayStation gamers. All right, that right there is strong enough, a good enough reason for PlayStation gamers to go out and get the Xbox One S, man. I mean, it's really a no-brainer when it comes to what console will sell. I mean, I know people try to look at it like, oh, it's an affordable price, and yes, that's all well and good, but let's be honest. The Xbox One S starts at $299. Most people that buy the Xbox One S will buy it at that price, at $299. And when you have the Black Friday sales that come out, those prices will probably drop to about $279 or $280. So then it'll be even cheaper. I don't see. I mean, maybe PlayStation will drop the PlayStation Pro to like 389. But even with that being said, the Xbox One S is also dropping. So therefore, you know, you're really looking at stronger uphill battle for Sony to regain its momentum. You know, you really are. You know, for the simple fact that Xbox just has a more attractive console at this moment. And you know what? As a Xbox gamer, as an Xbox enthusiast, you know, for years I downplayed the simple fact that, you know, I was like, oh man, the console. Who gives a fuck what the console looks like? You know, it's all about the games, right? Be like, oh man, Xbox has better games. You know, it has a lot of these great features. Like, why would I want to get a PS4 just because of the way it looks? And you know what? You know who cares about that shit? Casuals. Casuals care about the way consoles look more than I think even, you know, us gamers really, you know, think, because you know what it is? When you're a gamer, it's about the games. All you think about is the games. What games do I get? What can I play? How do they look? With the casuals, it's like, how will this look, you know, on my display? You know, what else can it do? Can it do something else other than gaming? See, those are the things that casuals care about. And when, you know, it's funny when a lot of hardcore Sony guys always say, well, who cares about TV? It's about the games. Well, casuals care about TV, because as much as you like to deny the fact that, you know, TV matters, you know, what do people look at more than anything on PlayStation and Xbox? Fucking Netflix, fucking Hulu, you know, shit. The the feature that allows your Xbox to run through your cable box, or your cable box to run through your Xbox to be exact, you know, is a very popular feature. You know, now they do need to fix some things, because the one thing I noticed that Xbox has an issue with satellite TV, there's a lag, and it can be pretty bad. And I think for most people that do have satellite television, they don't use that feature because of the lag that is caused with using the Xbox. But for everybody else who uses like Verizon, Comcast, shit like that, or whatever your local cable network is, you know, running your cable cord through your Xbox is a very viable feature that a lot of people like. They just do. You know, and it seems like everything is looking up for Xbox. You know, they got the better custom consoles, even though they don't have too many stickers other than the Gears of War one, but they have the better custom consoles. They have the better, more popular games coming out. DirectX 12 is actually showing that, you know, it's being utilized by third-party companies, with Battlefield 1 getting upscale. It's up-res from 720p to 1000p or whatever the fuck it was. You know, so things are looking up for Xbox. The gap between PS4 and Xbox are really, 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 really shrinking. Not to mean that it was huge before, but you know, that perception is shrinking. You know, and the value of the Xbox is increasing. You know, the crazy thing is a lot of things that get lost in the sauce is the fact that PlayStation Slim released not too long ago, and it's not really doing as well as people anticipated. And then, you know, I think if PlayStation in a bubble, PlayStation Slim in a bubble came out on its own, it probably would have done well, you know, because it would have nothing to be compared to, you know. But when your competitor, you know, basically throws the kitchen sink at you and says, look, man, we're going to just throw all this shit in here, and, you know, we're going to, you know, be for the gamers, be for the consumers, you know. Xbox could have very well gimped out on the Ultra Blu-ray player and just said, shit, we're just going to, you know, have HDR feature like PlayStation, no 4K, just HDR. They could have done that very well. So, but they chose not to. They chose to take a step forward. And doing so, you gained a lot of respect back from, the consumer base, which is the casuals. So when the person goes in the store and they see an Xbox One S, they see value now. They see value, and that's why that console is selling, and that's why that console will continue to sell even when the Pro comes out. The thing that really, really, really hurts the Pros is the fact that it doesn't have an Ultra Blu-ray player. So now it makes making that decision of getting a Pro over a Xbox One S even harder. Yeah, maybe the hardcore will only see the Pro and just be like, well, it runs games better, so therefore I'll get it because it's the better gaming console. But the average consumer looks at the Xbox One S and they say, this is the better console. It has more features. It does 4K streaming. It does 4K video playback. It does Ultra HD. I can jump into 4K. This will be my intro to 4K experience, and it's not going to cost me a whole lot of money, And that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, man. I mean, I really think Sony really shot themselves in the foot, not including the Ultra Blu-ray player. And even though people say that they don't use, they don't buy DVDs and they don't buy this and that, well, it's easier said because you don't. A lot of people say that because they don't have it. You don't have an Ultra, Blu-ray player or a 4K television. There's really no reason for the quality of Blu-rays versus digital aren't that big. They're big in a ways, but really not. It's not the jump that you would see with an Ultra Blu-ray player. And people that have those will want to go out and buy those movies, and you'll probably see a bit of a boom in that aspect until digital starts to catch up more with Ultra Blu-ray. When that happens, then those sales of Ultra Blu-ray player discs will go back down, just like they did with the Blu-ray players. It is what it is. But yeah, man, it's an interesting time of gaming. Xbox is doing their thing, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see. But what else I want to talk about? Yeah, so I don't, man, that's a good question. I don't know how long this winning streak will continue. I mean, it may get stunted in November, like I said, because the PS Pro does come out, and a lot of hardcore PlayStation guys will go out and get it. So I don't know what that influx number will look like. I don't know how, it might blow up a lot. It might blow up a little bit, A lot of people say, PS4 has sold a lot of consoles, but you can't assume that every console that PlayStation has sold has been to an individual person in an individual household. That same theory goes for Xbox. You can't look at for one, I have 2 Xboxes in my home, right? So if everybody has 2 PlayStation 4s in their home, PlayStation only really has 20 million customers, right? You take that 40 million consoles and you knock that down to 20 million customers, all right? So it's really, then from that number, then you will be able to see, okay, who, is going to go out and buy a PlayStation Pro. But it'll be interesting. I think maybe in February when Horizon Zero Dawn comes out, you'll see a boost in console sales for the simple fact that I'm pretty sure PlayStation will have like a custom console or something like that around that time. And I also said it like you'll see it for the Pro. Now, I don't think Sony is going to do a custom Slim for Call of Duty. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe they would. They do one for the Slim and the Pro, but I just see them focusing more on the Pro from here on out. The Slim is kind of going to be an afterthought because if they're going to push VR, they really have to push the Pro in order. That's the best console in order to really perform VR on. It is what it is. But yeah, so Xbox for the win for probably the foreseeable future. It is what it is. But on to my last bit of news. We're talking about VR, and PSVR just came out and it has a bit of sales. And we're hearing, the thing about PSVR that I find interesting is people tend to, you know, try to promote VR for whatever reason. I mean, some people might have a serious vested interest in VR, and that might be the reason why, they want to push PSVR so hard. Um, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, because they tell you, all right, well, it's an experience and it has these games, but let's be honest. For what VR is in general, not even just PSVR, for what VR is in general, I don't think there's enough there to really advocate paying $600 in order to experience it, especially on a console. I know that a lot of people that are VR enthusiasts want to push the VR experience, but the thing is, pushing it, especially for that price, can wind up killing it. Because you're going to be pushing this, saying that it's this experience, it's this great, amazing thing, and when it turns out to be, fall short of that, because enthusiasts are always going to appreciate, what a game is. Like, look, man, I like Recore. I think Recore is an awesome game. It's very fun. But guess what? Recore isn't. It's not a tremendously beautiful game. It is not. And casuals, people that are casuals that, play games based on what they see, are going to look at it and say, this game isn't as good as Halo or Gears or Uncharted or God of War. It doesn't have that look. It's not as shiny and pretty as those games. That's what I fear about the PSVR, especially because more people are going to try it because it is a cheaper, entry point into VR. And you convince these casuals to go out and buy these games, and you're looking beyond the graphics. See, the thing that drives me crazy is when it comes to Xbox games, especially the more gameplay focused, but it might not be the most graphically demanding games. People only focus on the graphics and tell you, well, it's all about the graphics. The gameplay be damned. It might be fun, but it doesn't look as good as something else, But when it comes to PlayStation VR, it's like, well, don't nitpick on the graphics. Look at the experience. Look, you're in a game. It might not look great, but look where you're at. And this is where we always wanted to be at. And as much as these enthusiasts want people to pick up and not judge PSVR for, its shortcomings, that's what the casuals are going to see. They're going to look at, like, I bought this headset thinking that my games that are on my PS4 will look like the game. I mean, the games on my PSVR are going to look just as good as the games on my PS4. So therefore, when I put this headset on, it's just going to translate. And when it doesn't, these people are going to be upset. These people are going to feel jaded by the VR experience, and they're not going to really want to, continue playing. I mean, using VR like that. They're just not. And it just seems like it's a shame because I think VR has its, I think it could be something cool, but I think the biggest obstacle for VR is a lot of time. I mean, people are just trying to push it towards home, and I don't think that's where VR can really thrive. Because let's be honest, man. To really get a in-depth VR experience, you need to pay some money. You need to put out some guap. And if you're not going to do that, then you're going to get a shittier VR experience. It is what it is. What I would think VR would be best served as is basically, a service that is supplied by, I would say, if you had a VR service versus being at home. Yeah, you could play at home if you want to, but I think it would be better served as if you had like I want to say a store, but like a playland or something like that, where you can go there and play VR games like you would if you wanted to go play paintball. But everything would be done in VR. You would have the mobile runners, you would have people with the proper controllers, everything would be set up. You have people there to watch them. All those things that you really need to experience VR, because let's be honest, with VR, you are cut off from the world. You cannot see what's going on around you. All right. So therefore, you do need some type of supervision in order to really be able to get into VR. I mean, it is what it is, as much as we like to talk shit about VR and how it can't do this, can't do that. The main issue about it is that you really need supervision for it more than anything. I think it could be fun. I think going out on a weekend with my boys, spending an hour, maybe 2 hours in VR, playing some VR game, running around, that shit would be dope. But to sit in my house and do that for, a long period of time, one, I don't think it's practical. And I just like, I mean, unless you live by yourself and you have a family and you don't have a family, being closed off from the world for a long period of time in VR, one, it seems like you're being a complete dick about it. Cause it's just like, look, man, you come home. Yeah, you want to work, but dude, you're sitting downstairs. At least when I'm playing games, my wife hits me up like, yeah, what's going on? I need you to come over and help me. All right. Put the controller down, go help her out. She don't got to come into the room, freaking tap me, try to pull the VR headset off of me in order to get my attention. She can just yell and I'll hear her. But with VR, you're just way too cut off from the world, and it's better served as something like an amusement ride or something like that versus being in somebody's house. I really don't see the point in having it, especially because of the long-term effects that we really don't know. See, the thing is with VR, especially if you haven't tried it, you really don't understand how that shit affects your eyes. And, but a lot of people worry about queasiness and shit like that. Yeah, that's something that can happen. But to me, that's something very temporary. That's not something that is a long-term issue with VR. The long-term issue with VR to me is how it affects your vision. As a person that has pretty good eyesight, I noticed that my ability to focus on things in the distance, I can't do it. Everything's blurred. You're only in VR, you're only really supposed to look at what's in front of you, so unless you're farsighted, right? Unless you can't see things from a distance, then you're going to have an issue with VR because you're going to be struggling to focus on things in the distance. Somebody who has astigmatism and they have to wear glasses or, for looking at things from a distance, will probably have a better experience with VR because they can't see things from a distance anyway. So whatever's up in front of them, they'll see fine, and whatever's in the distance is blurry and they can't focus on either anyway, But if you don't have that stigmatism, that is going to fuck with your eyes, that is going to cause you to probably develop a stigmatism, based on how long you use VR. And let's be honest, most people that are real hardcore gamers, they game for a lot longer than an hour here, an hour there. Let's just be honest. You know, so if you're gaming for longer than an hour, especially in VR, you're going to have to worry about motion sickness. You're going to have to worry about your vision being impaired in the future. You're going to have to worry about headaches and things of that nature. There's a lot of factors that people aren't really factoring in to this decision to get VR. They just think, well, this shit is cool. I'll sign up to be the crash test dummy for this, without really looking at the long-term effects. Now, I think things could improve in the future, you know, as far as like having a, you know, VR headset that can basically tell when you're trying to focus on things, or using your eyes and, looking at the retina and saying, okay, he or she is trying to focus on stuff in the distance, so therefore I can adjust the image in the headset, but we're just not there. We're just not in. And to, just ignore it like it's something that's not a big deal because you want VR to be pushed at, basically, at any means, is, to me, is just completely irresponsible. Like, you have to give people all the facts, and the one thing people are just saying is, oh, well, I can see you just getting sick. And that's bullshit, because that's the least of their worries. You could take some Pepto-Bismol for your motion sickness, or you could take some, I think they have pills to adjust with your equilibrium and shit like that. But when your eyes are fucked up, I mean, having to go get laser surgery to fix your shit is not ideal because you played VR longer than, what was medically recommended. It's just something that is just, I don't feel is an ideal thing to have at home at this moment. Now, if somebody decides to want to open up a VR shop and offer that service to gamers that want to come in for a short-term VR experience, I'm all for that, because I don't think the effects of using VR, in an hour or whatever is, I don't think it's strong enough to really damage a person's vision, for the simple fact you're not utilizing it enough, But having it in a home where somebody's going to feel like they have to get all that they got out of the $600 that they paid for this thing, I just think there's too much risk in it, and you're going to probably see a lot of lawsuits in the near future. I just think you are, and it's sad because it's probably going to taint what VR is, in a way. So, but we'll see. But yeah, man. I'm looking at this is my movie app. I was just watching. What the fuck was I watching? I just finished watching Central Intelligence, which is a pretty damn good movie, man. That shit was funny, but I don't want to look at too much. So, debating on Tarzan. I think I'm gonna watch Superman. But yeah, man, this is your boy Livewire, and what up, people, man? And I'm out this bitch, baby.